Hello and welcome to the Sports Report. I'm Mitch Wertlieb, your host for this program that's all about the world of sports in Vermont and beyond. I'm on set with producer Nathaniel Wilson. Hey, Nathaniel.
Hey, Mitch. How you doing?
How was your sports weekend, sir?
It was a busy one.
Yeah, a lot to watch.
Saturday, I watched the French sweep, you can call it. At noon was the Champions League final where Paris Saint-Germain repeated as European champions. I was watching it with my girlfriend and trying to explain to her, we're watching a sporting event right now that's a bigger deal than the Super Bowl, if you can believe
You might not know it here in America, but yes.
I know. And then after that, later we watched the San Antonio Spurs beat the Oklahoma City Thunder in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals, it was a knife fight. It was a bloodbath. It was, I think, everything we could have wanted in a Game 7, which was just awesome.
I was watching that game too. Glad you were as well, and I felt the same way about it. Couple of heavyweight fighters trading blow for blow. I kept expecting OKC at some point to hit the accelerator, blow past the Spurs, and just win that game. I thought they're the defending champs. They've got maybe the greatest player in the game right now in SGA, but it didn't happen, and Wembanyama came through.
Yeah, the wild thing was SGA was having like the game of his life almost, especially for this postseason. I forget what he ended up, but he was over 50% from the field. I think he had like 36 points. He was making tough buckets. The jumpers over Wembanyama, I always think are so incredible how he puts that high arc on his jump shot.
Over a 7'5" guy.
I know. And so Shea came to play, but then they were still down around 10 basically the whole game, which is why I think I was rooting for Oklahoma City. I'll just come out and say it.
That's fine.
I reject the SGA flopping narrative that's taking over the sports media world right now. I love watching that guy work. I love watching Victor Wembanyama work too, which is why I thought it was so fun.
And wasn't it stunning to see that giant of a man? He's 7'5", let's face it. I know he's young and all that, but crying like a little kid at the relief and the happiness of knowing he had made his first ever finals.
Yeah, it's like 1 and 2 for me. I love watching the games. I love talking about the games. Yeah. But watching the reactions of the players when they win is just so meaningful. And Wembanyama was brought to tears. I thought it was funny that the post-game interview on the court was done with Julian Champagnie. And I was thinking there's no way they could get Victor because he wouldn't listen to anyone. He was trying to find every guy on his team. He was trying to find every coach, giving him hugs. He was taking the finals hats and slapping them on his teammates' heads. It was just such an awesome moment. It was so beautiful.
Well, I'll tell you who I was rooting for in that game, okay? It wasn't OKC or San Antonio necessarily. It was whichever one of them is going to beat the New York Knicks in the final. Nathaniel, I can't take it. I can't have the New York Knicks winning their first championship since 1973. I don't want anything to do with it.
I feel similarly, and I think for us as the rooting against the Knicks party, I think we got the result that we wanted out of this Western Conference Finals.
Is it? You know more about basketball than I do.
Even though I think throughout the entirety of the 2026 NBA season, I think that the Oklahoma City Thunder were the best team in the league. I don't really think there's much of a question, but with the injuries to Jalen Williams and to AJ Mitchell, and Jalen Williams, he played a little in Game 6.
Yeah, he was back, but he was not 100%, right?
Yeah, AJ Mitchell, he pulled his calf. I don't think we would have even seen him in the finals if Oklahoma City had moved on. The Spurs also got beat up in that Western Conference series, right? De'Aaron Fox's ankle, Dylan Harper had the abductor strain. But by the end of that series, the Spurs looked healthy. They were all playing well. They looked like a well-oiled machine. And Victor is such a game changer on both sides of the floor that I am picking the San Antonio Spurs to beat the New York Knicks. I've been on this show as we've gone through the playoffs. I've picked against the Knicks multiple times now. I've been wrong multiple times. But here is where our luck changes.
All right. Good. So, what are they going to take it in 6, 7 games, you think?
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. As long as you say San Antonio is going to win, I'm happy. And let me just explain briefly that, my hatred for the New York Knicks is seated in a couple of things. It's in my DNA. I'm a Boston sports fan. Obviously, I don't want any New York sports fans to be happy for any reason ever. But it's also their owner, James Dolan.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. This guy, he has actually had people thrown out of Madison Square Garden because they have voiced their displeasure at his team and not winning for so long. He even had veteran New York Knick Charles Oakley thrown out of a game once. You can't root for a guy like that.
Yeah, I would say it's not a coincidence at all that when when the Knicks hired a new GM and a new president of basketball operations and Dolan just completely stepped back that the team has been successful.
Well, there you go.
I don't think it's a coincidence.
So we'll see what happens there. We've also got the NHL Stanley Cup Finals beginning tomorrow night. And wow, great for the NHL, huh? They got Vegas going up against Carolina, a ratings nightmare.
It's kind of like the NBA Finals last year when we had Oklahoma City Thunder versus Indiana, and it turned into a 7-game series that was one of the most fantastic NBA Finals series in my lifetime that I've seen. And so,
but did anybody watch it?
No, that's the issue, and I think the ratings were down. And I think we gotta hope at least to get some good hockey out of this series. So,
well, that's the thing. It's the same thing. I think these are two very good teams. I see that series going 7. I'm going to pick the Carolina Hurricanes maybe to win it. I think they have maybe the better goaltending, I hope, now that Anderson seems to have returned to form. They've got some terrific defensemen on that team. They got players who can put the puck in the net, like Taylor Hall, former #1 pick. Should be a great series, but I guarantee you the league would rather have had the Montreal Canadiens making the final.
doubt.
Obviously, you would have had everybody in this area watching, of course, north of the border. Congratulations to the Canadiens, as much as it pains me as a Bruins fan to say it, for a fantastic season. They win 2 rounds of playoffs, and they're going to be great in years to come. They're a very young team, second youngest team in the league. They're only going to get better next year.
Yes, but on the Sports Report, we say go Spurs and go Hurricanes.
We do indeed. I also want to make one quick note. If you haven't been watching the French Open tennis tournament, good time to tune in if you like new winners, because for the first time in a while, there will be no former champion on the men's or women's side. Wow. Shocking upsets. Jannik Sinner had to drop out from heat exhaustion in his game. He's the world's #1. Djokovic got beaten by a 19-year-old Brazilian player. On the women's side, Iga Swiatek is out. So somebody's going to be a new champ at the French Open tennis tournament.
I also saw in other tennis news, but I'm not exactly sure if it's French Open news, Serena Williams announced today that she is making her return to competitive tennis, which is exciting.
So great that she is coming back. So lots to talk about, as always, in the sports world. And today on our show, there is excitement and trepidation over this year's World Cup. We're going to get a preview from Boston Globe sports reporter Michael Silverman, who can also maybe explain why the Boston Red Sox are so bad this year, even playing at the usually friendly confines of Fenway Park. Also joining us from Beantown today is Ryan Smith. If you don't know who that is, well, he ran his first official marathon in Vermont last month and set a new course record in doing so. And we've got a preview of the new NECBL season for the Upper Valley Nighthawks. If you're with us on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments which 2 teams are going to win the NBA and Stanley Cup Finals. And if you're listening via radio or podcast, we encourage you, hang out with us each Monday at 2 p.m. on the Sports Report YouTube channel, because if you want to hear more about what's happening in Vermont sports, you're in the right place. And it's time for the High Five, the segment where we count down 5 of the biggest stories from the last week in Vermont sports. And coming in at number 5, just before this year's legislative session ended in Montpelier, state lawmakers approved $12 million in public funding to help build a new 5,000-seat multi-purpose sports and entertainment complex at the University of Vermont. The project got a big boost for approval, with 10 of the $12 million price tag coming from the state treasury's unclaimed property fund.
And coming in at number 4, Vermont Green FC's women's team has looked strong through its first 4 games this year. They've played to 2 ties and a win in the USLW League play and successfully defended the Maple Cup versus Lakeshore SC on Friday. But the big story, Mitch, every goal scored by Vermont in the USLW this season has come from a player who has appeared right here on the Sports Report. Georgina Clark has netted 2, and Violet Rademacher has scored once, and our friend in goal, Olivia Shippey, has yet to allow a score. I've got to say, Mitch, I got to ask you, what's the opposite of a curse? And is it time to start talking about the Sports Report blessing?
It is the Sports Report blessing. So listen, soccer players out there, if you haven't scored a goal in a while and you're a bit snake bit and you want to score a goal, all you got to do, come on the Sports Report. You're guaranteed to get a goal. At number 3, the Vermont Lake Monsters are off to a 4-1 start to their baseball season in Futures League play. The team jumped out to 4 straight wins before suffering their first loss of the season yesterday at home against the New Britain Bees. The Monsters get a shot at revenge tonight when they take on the Bees again at Centennial Field.
And at number 2, Vermont Green FC's men's club has looked dominant to start the 2026 USL2 season. They're first place in league power rankings and 4-0 so far, scoring a whopping 17 goals and allowing only 2. The 2025 champs are also competing in the Steinbrecher Cup, where they defeated Hickory FC 5-4 on penalties after a 0-0 game in North Carolina on Saturday in front of a huge attendance of over 5,000 people. The Green play 2 home games this week. The Boston Bolts are in town tomorrow. I'll be there. And they take on Westchester United in the Steinbrecher Cup final on Friday.
And at number 1 this week, BFA St. Albans softball pitcher Irie Shedd is having a moment and then some. The freshman ace followed up a perfect game in which she struck out 18 batters in a 6-0 win over Colchester 2 weeks ago by throwing an immaculate inning against Missisquoi Valley High last Thursday. Shedd struck out all 3 batters she faced in the second inning of that 3-2 win with the minimum number of pitches possible. Exactly 9 of them, all strikes for a perfect, immaculate 1-2-3 inning. We'll be right back with Vermont City Marathon winner and record holder Ryan Smith. Welcome back to the Sports Report. I'm Mitch Wertlieb, and you can be forgiven for doing a double take if you looked at the results of this year's Vermont City Marathon in Burlington and saw that the winner set a new course record for the 37-year-old event, shattering the old mark by more than a full minute. And that runner who did it was competing in his first ever official marathon. The runner is Ryan Smith, who lives in Boston and joins us now from Beantown on the Sports Report. Ryan, thank you so much for being with us.
Good afternoon, Mitch. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
First, I got to start by telling a little behind-the-scenes story here. When we saw that Ryan Smith, and we did not know who you were, had won the Vermont City Marathon and broke the record in doing so, we thought, well, we got to find this guy. We got to get him on the Sports Report. Problem was, you're in Boston, you're not here in Vermont, and your name is Ryan Smith, which is, let's call it a common name. Okay, so we had a little trouble finding you. As it turns out, if we had used your actual official name, it would have been easier. What can you tell us about that?
Well, yeah, Ryan's my middle name. I've always gone by Ryan. So for all accounts and purposes, that's who I am. But I have a family name that hails generations. Where my dad's side of the family is from in County Mayo, Ireland. So my legal name is Mayo Ryan Smith. So if had I gone by that, it would have been a lot easier because I don't think there are many Mayo Smiths. But a fun fact, though, is somewhere down the line, Mayo Smith was the manager for the Detroit Tigers when they won the World Series in 1968. So a little bit of history.
I love that trivia, and you'll always have that. So whether you're called Mayo or called Ryan, it's an incredible accomplishment. Congratulations on winning the Vermont City Marathon and doing it again in record time. So I have to ask, this was your first official full marathon run, the full 26 miles, but you've been a runner for quite some time, right? I mean, did you compete at Bates College doing running for that university?
I bounced around sports growing up, but I settled on running my junior year of high school. So I think that means it's been 8 or 9 years. And yeah, I've never ran that far before. The most I had ran as of a month ago was 18 miles. But that's not to say I don't run regularly every day with workouts and whatnot.
Sure. But, you come in here, you do your first official marathon, you win the thing, and you break the record in doing so. Did you know right away? When did you find out that you would actually set the new record?
I think that when I came through halfway, I did some quick math of the pace I was running. I multiplied by 2, basically. And I had an idea of where I could finish. But it's a marathon, and as a lot of people that also ran the race, those last couple of miles, that last big hill, you really never know what the second half of the race holds. You got to be patient. So I knew I was on a pretty good pace, but I also wasn't ready to, crown myself the winner of anything. A lot of people drop out. It's hard. So
you weren't thinking along the way like, I could win this thing, or thinking, obviously you weren't thinking about the record. You didn't know what that was necessarily, but were you thinking at some point during the race, like, hey, I'm feeling really good here. I could actually come in first?
The way it played out, I was by myself by the mile mark. I mean, it's a 26-mile race, and I ended up being alone the whole time. So I think there came a point in the first half of the race where it felt like I was going to win. Like I said, you never know what's going to happen, but I had built a pretty big gap on second, and yeah, I felt good. Definitely felt like I could hold this pace. So I had a feeling it would take something serious for them to catch me. I mean, they would have to really pick up the pace to catch me.
You know, you and I were actually talking before we got on air live today about this accomplishment, and you pointed out something really interesting. The previous record set for the Vermont City Marathon was back in 2001. Now, again, to me, I look at the scores. You broke that record by more than a full minute. The previous record was 2 hours, 17 minutes, I believe. That's incredible to me, but you put that into some perspective, some context. Tell us about why you think that, as amazing as what you did, the 2001 record is still incredible in and of itself.
Yeah, so I mean, technology and training has come a really long way. I mean, 2001 was the year I was born. So to explain this point further, I mean, I'll just rewind. I think in 1973, my time would have been the world record, or something to that effect. I think in the late 60s, my finishing time would have been the world record. Now, you know, a month ago, someone ran 1:59, 16 minutes faster than me. So I guess that just demonstrates there's been a progression of human accomplishment and achievement and performance. And in 2001, a 2:17 flat marathon is worth a lot more than what a 2:15 marathon is worth now. I'm trying to say that the 2001 record that I broke is probably more impressive, if not as impressive, as my time.
And is this because of, as you were saying, changes in technology, training methods, ways you can train to better pace yourself, that kind of thing?
Yep. Yeah, the shoe technology has made a huge, even since 2020, it's made huge strides, and they've come up with lots of new shoe technology and the cushion in them. It's night and day different. And also the point I made earlier, just a funny way of thinking about it. In 2001, if I were to train for this race, I would have to go to the library, pull out a book, and read 200 pages about mileage and nutrition and, you know, how to pace myself. Whereas nowadays, it's at your fingertips, and it's, you know, a Google search away. And I also think that's why we're seeing a lot of these road races, these marathons, breaking, you know, sign-up records, registration records. I'm sure this was, if not the biggest, one of the biggest Vermont City Marathon from a participation standpoint.
It's such a great accomplishment. And not only did you break the record, you have also now qualified, as I understand it, for the Olympic trials for Los Angeles 2028.
That's right. Yep. So far, I think it's like 120 Americans have done so. I'm really, really happy to be one of those 120 people. This was a long lifetime goal of mine. So,
what's the next step there? What do you do? You're obviously going to go out there and do the trials.
Definitely going to do the trials. But that's the question, Mitch, is what's next? Because like I said, this was something I wanted to work towards, and having gotten it, I now need to figure out what the logical next goal should be. Granted, it's probably not as exciting as, you know, achieving this mark. It's probably going to be picking some arbitrary like top 20 or top 10 or whatever it may be. I don't think making the Olympics is on my mind right now. Well, I hope everyone knows that.
Yes, and and it shouldn't be, because again, you should be basking in this incredible accomplishment. And very briefly, Ryan, what was the reaction like from friends and family when they had learned what you had accomplished, being the new record holder for the Vermont City Marathon?
Some of the friends that I train with thought I was capable of this, maybe even before I did. But a lot of my friends and family don't run. So they were impressed that I finished a marathon. They were amazed at the pace at which I did it, and they were baffled at the fact that I made the Olympic trials. So there's a little bit of everything. But so much support. A lot of people were really genuinely happy for me, and I felt that.
I have to briefly say, too, of course, when something like this happens, and the world we live in now being what it is, there were some comments that I saw pop up on social media where somebody immediately said, like, I hope they're investigating this. Thinking like a Rosie Ruiz situation back in 1980. Remember, she won the Boston Marathon, but it turns out she had taken the T to the end of the race. We don't have the T here in Vermont. This was all on the up and up. You achieved this completely legitimately.
Well, I reached out to the news company because my parents were watching on TV. It was live streamed. I'm really trying to find that race footage because there's a couple points I want to rewatch. I missed one of my water bottles, so I did a full 180, turned around, lost my momentum. I want to find that clip.
Wow.
And I mean, there's no possible way to cut this course any short. I mean, there's a golf cart, a police vehicle, some bikes. I mean, there was no opportunity for me to, slip through the woods or something or go unnoticed. I mean, I feel like I had so many eyes on me.
It's such an extraordinary accomplishment. And I really want to thank you so much for taking the time out today to come and talk to us about it here on the Sports Report. And I understand you come up to Vermont a fair bit. If you ever come up here again, please visit us in the studio. We'd love to talk to you some more.
I'd love to stop by, and I recommend to anyone listening that's on the fence, like, run this marathon. You can do it. It's really fun. They put on a great show.
Ryan Smith, the new record holder for the Vermont City Marathon. When we come back, we preview the 2026 FIFA World Cup with the Boston Globe's Michael Silverman. And welcome back to the Sports Report. I'm Mitch Wertlieb. The FIFA World Cup starts next week, June 11th, and it's going to be a huge event. Here with us to preview this big event for the world's most popular sport is Boston Globe sports reporter Michael Silverman. Michael, thank you so much for being with us on the Sports Report.
No, thank you for asking.
I have read and heard this event described as the biggest sporting event in history. Is that an exaggeration, or is that pretty accurate? Give us the scope of this big tournament.
Yeah, I mean, the number of teams is bigger than it ever has been. It's 48 teams. It's in 16 different cities. As we all know, the spectacle of sports is increasing, not decreasing. So you have the world's most popular sport, the most countries ever invited. You got the natural hype and, whoop-de-doo that always happens with big sports in the United States and North America. And, you combine all that with, TV, radio, streaming, everything, it's the biggest carnival of all time. It really is.
Yeah, no question about that. But not without some controversy. I mean, when I look at, for example, ticket prices for this event, even if you're talking about the lower end tickets, the average cost of a ticket for the cheap seats in any of these stadiums where games are going to be played, I think is starting around $500. Is that right?
I'll believe anything you throw at me because I've heard so many different figures. It's ridiculous. I feel badly for the average fan. I'm going as a fan myself. I'm going back home to Kansas City to go to some games with some family members. And, it's ridiculous what we're going to pay. And, FIFA can get away with it because of, this incredible product and incredible interest that they have. I mean, I find it interesting that, the United States team has not been able to sell out its initial game against Paraguay. I imagine they will sell the tickets. Maybe the price is going to drop towards the end. But I think on the whole, the number of, the ticket revenues are going to be an obscene amount. So it's unfortunate, but you and I are not going to be able to change that for this tournament.
Yeah, that's very true. And I'm also noticing now that there are a couple of investigations. Two states, New York and New Jersey, are opening investigations now into complaints about tickets that apparently there was a gentleman who's lives in Vancouver. He's a Whitecaps fan. He goes to MSL games there. And he bought a ticket, paid $1,000 for it, assumed he was getting a very good seat to go watch the game. And it turns out he's got an obstructed view seat. So that's what we're hearing now is that FIFA is basically saying, "Oh, sure, buy your tickets, and then we'll place you where you're going to sit."
Yeah, I think you and I and everyone listening, we're all used to going on Ticketmaster, StubHub, whatever it is, to go to the arena, the stadium, the whatever, what kind of venue it is. And you can see on the map, you can buy the ticket where you want it. But because it's FIFA, and FIFA is just an incredibly powerful and also very opaque institution, they've made it as difficult and challenging as possible. And I have every ounce of sympathy for that fan in Vancouver. And I would love for FIFA to have to open their books about the process they use for selling tickets, among many other things they do.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and pile on FIFA for a minute here because let's not forget that it was only about, I think, 10 years ago that they were investigated for some, perhaps giving away some bids to host countries that didn't necessarily deserve them. I mean, Qatar was the host country, I guess, 10 years ago or so, and, conditions were not great there. The players were concerned about the heat, et cetera. But again, FIFA doesn't really answer to anyone but themselves, do they?
That's correct. Yeah, the corruption scandal that they had was massive. It was real. Certainly, no one is. I'm not going to sit here and say that the same thing is going on. Not at all. But there's a lot of money flowing through FIFA and a lot of football federations around the world. So who knows? Who knows what's going on? But it's a massive controlling organization for sure.
Michael, what are the concerns in Boston where you are? Because I know that some of the games are going to be played at Foxborough, where the New England Patriots play their games. Now, that's not in the city of Boston itself, but are there concerns about security, about all sorts of things that could potentially go wrong with such a highly anticipated event?
We have a long list of worries and concerns that people have. I don't think the average fan right now is that concerned about security. It seems as if there's a lot of money devoted to it. Can they, prevent some awful event? I don't know. I mean, there could be a hurricane or a tractor trailer derails on the main highway outside the stadium. What's going to happen? All kinds of contingencies. I think, they're probably as prepared as they can be for any kind of emergency or event like that. I think what's really irking a lot of people is the cost, like you said, and the hassle. Gillette Stadium, which is going to be renamed Boston Stadium, it is currently called Boston Stadium, is about 25 miles from downtown.
Yeah, I saw that they were renaming it Boston Stadium for this event, and I just had to laugh because you're right. Oh, yeah. And as you know, getting to Foxborough, even just for a Patriots game, is not easy. There's basically one road that takes you to that stadium. There's going to be an awful lot of cars heading that way.
Sure are. They are increasing their train service. If listeners, one of the two main train stations in Boston is South Station. They're going to run 14 express trains, which take about an hour before the game and after. Now it's going to cost $80 a person round trip for that. And they're also going to be having buses, a bunch of buses that cost $95 round trip, leaving from downtown Boston at different hotels. So, they're going to eliminate, there's usually around 20,000 parking spots at Gillette Stadium. FIFA, because they have to establish a security perimeter before they allow people in, they're going to eliminate about 15,000 of those parking spots.
Wow.
So there will be just 5,000 spots. So there will be less car traffic, more buses, more trains. It's a guaranteed headache no matter what. It's a hassle to get there. And there's been a long line of kind of snafus and screw ups along the way to get this far.
We're speaking with Michael Silverman, a longtime sports reporter for the Boston Globe. He's talking about the 2026 FIFA World Cup, which is coming up next week and will include games in Massachusetts as well as many other places. Michael, let's talk a little bit about the men's team here, the USA men's team. They have been struggling for so long now to be relevant on the world stage in something like this, in a World Cup tournament. What is the team like this year? Do they have a chance to make a deep run?
I don't think they have much of a shot to make a deep run. I think I think fans should try to keep their expectations low. It's the general consensus, I would say, is that they have a decent chance of emerging from their group. It's not the strongest group of all time, but their play has been very inconsistent. A lot of question marks. They have Christian Pulisic, who's their star, who actually scored a goal in the big win yesterday. That was kind of encouraging to see. It's potentially a good team. It's not a great team. If they go deep and make it, yes, they can make it out of the group stage, but I don't know. This team couldn't qualify a few years ago. You'd like to think. I'm managing my own expectations. Of course, I'd love to see them go far, but man, you just look around the world and I can pick 15 teams I'd rather root for if I wanted to have a shot of reaching, say, the quarterfinals.
I won't make you name all 15 of those teams, but let's talk about some of the teams that maybe have a shot to go all the way this year. It's funny, I was talking with our producer, Nathaniel Wilson, before this segment, and he was telling me that there's only about 7 or 8 countries maybe that have ever won the World Cup. And so it turns out to be like the same teams all the time. Are we looking at the same powerhouse countries and teams this year?
Well, I would put in some order France, Spain, and England, probably in the top 3. I think England's only won it once. France has won it a bunch of times, same as Spain. So, Germany is a big time winner, and Brazil as well. But each of those teams have some question marks coming in, but they're all really, really good teams. Uruguay has won it, I think, at least once, if not twice. I'm probably leaving out one,
Argentina, maybe? Is Argentina a winner?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
so.
Yes. They won last time and once before. So, and of course, Messi's coming back. Portugal is a very strong team. They never won it. The big European countries and South American countries, are very strong. Morocco has a very good team. And, Boston's going to see some really good teams. France and England are coming to Boston. Those are, top 3 teams, and Morocco is very good. But yeah, it's the usual powerhouses.
Tell me again a little bit about the group that the U.S. is playing in, that they have to get out of. You said they have a decent shot to get out of group play. What does their group look like, and why do you think that they have a good shot maybe of at least getting to the next round out of that group play?
Well, I believe they're the highest rated group. I'm trying to remember what the 4th team is. It's Australia and Paraguay and Turkey. Yeah, don't sleep on Turkey. But I would say United States, because it's so big this year, also there's a chance that the 3rd place team can also emerge. So unless they completely fall apart, I think there's a good chance they get out of there. But again, I tend to be expect the worst and then be pleasantly surprised.
Hope for the best.
My motto for most things.
Is there a so-called group of death anywhere, like a group that's just, oh man, you don't want to be in this section here. It's going to be tough to get out. Yeah,
I don't know if your team has that graphic ready, but the group that England is in, I believe, is considered to be very tough off the top of my head. But most of the highest seeded teams have a very good shot. Like I mentioned, France, Spain, Argentina, Brazil, they're all expected to emerge without too much, they'll break a sweat. Don't forget, a few years ago in Qatar, Argentina lost the very first game in the group stage before they turned things around.
Yeah, so you have to be ready to lift your level of play even in the group stages if you really need to. I always like to root for the underdog, so obviously, and I want the U.S. men to do well, but like you, my expectations are fairly low there. So what I'm looking at is a team like a country like England, which has only won one World Cup, as you correctly pointed out. I know this because it's the year I was born, 1966. I know that in England, the country would go absolutely ballistic if the team even came close to making it to the final. Do you think this English team this year has a chance to do better than expected?
Oh, I think expectations should be really high for them. They're definitely, maybe not, they're like 1A, 1B. I would say I would not be shocked to see if they win. They have a tendency to underperform in say the European Championships. But they have a really strong team. I think that would be great to see them go all the way. And yeah, it would be a little nuts over there.
What do you know about the Netherlands this year? Did they qualify?
Yep, they're in it. They're always strong, and they're just not considered to be at their, their Johan Cruyff days. But they have some very excellent talent on the team. But kind of like Belgium, they're not considered to be, ready for the top tier.
I just love the orange uniforms. I always root for them too when other teams get knocked out. It's great. It's like that 1970s look. I just absolutely love it. Of course, we have to mention too that this particular World Cup comes with a world situation that is quite unstable at the moment. The United States is at war with Iran currently. Iran is going to play in the World Cup. Is that right?
Oh yeah. FIFA. I guess the president has made some noise about perhaps not allowing them or saying they have to play in Mexico or Canada, I guess. But as you know, the president of FIFA, Gianni Infantino, has put in a lot of effort to have a good relationship with President Trump. And anyway, I don't think that President Trump can persuade FIFA in this example to not allow Iran to play as scheduled.
Yeah, when you say they've tried to,
I could be wrong.
Well, they could, but as you said, they have gone out of their way to curry some favor with the president. I mean, they invented a peace prize. They literally invented a peace prize to hand to him, which I thought was one of the more absurd things that I've ever seen. But again, this is FIFA being FIFA, right?
Yeah, you can say that the president of FIFA certainly knows how to read a room, and in this case, he knows how to read the tournament where it's being played this year. So if you look at it through that perspective, not justifying his means, but I understand the end of what he's trying to get to, which is have a successful tournament. So in that sense, that involves a lot of communication with the president.
Michael, I know that you don't follow the team as closely as you once did, but you followed the Boston Red Sox for many years as a Boston sports writer. So I have to ask, do you have any inkling about why this team this year, never mind the 2 wins in a row they just got against Cleveland, they're just terrible this year, and they're remarkably bad at home at Fenway Park where they usually have such an advantage. What is going on with this team?
They didn't surround the roster with enough talent.
But they're not remarkably different than last year's team, right? I mean, yes, there's no Alex Bregman, but they still got some
a big change.
Yeah, no, that is.
I'm going to say that, and there's no obviously, Rafael Devers is gone too, but it looks as if the pitching is not as strong as they thought it was. It's still maybe a little early, but the offense is a shell of what it's supposed to be. So, how they're gauging talent, how they're assembling talent, you're seeing the results of it. So, yeah, they fired the manager.
Yeah.
And not a whole lot has changed. So I guess if I'm Craig Breslow, I'm wondering about my own job security.
That's usually what happens. I have to ask very briefly though, Michael, is there anything that could happen that would keep, maybe get John Henry to sell the team? You've heard the chance of sell the team. Fans are kind of fed up. They want the Red Sox to be competitive again. They're so far from that. But folks are still coming to Fenway to sing Sweet Caroline in the 8th inning. So is anything going to change?
I can't imagine that the chants from the Fenway crowd are going to have any kind of impact on John Henry and how he decides to run the team and that he would decide to sell the team. I'm not saying he doesn't hear the fans, but I don't think he's going to sell the team because of what the fans have to say. You can never please fans, and fans, you are responsible and have to be responsive to the fans. But I think he would say, if he were here, that, we've won 4 times in the last, 25 years or so with me as the owner. And I think that's a pretty good rate. And chant all you want.
And Michael Silverman, finally, thank you for being with us today. Where can folks find your work if they want to read and find out more about Boston sports?
On the Boston Globe. BostonGlobe.com.
Yep. Excellent. Thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate you being on the Sports Report. And we come back. The Upper Valley Nighthawks are set to begin their new season in the New England Collegiate Baseball League. This is the Sports Report. Welcome back to the Sports Report. I'm Mitch Wertlieb, and last week on a special Memorial Day edition of the Sports Report, we previewed the new Futures League season for the Vermont Lake Monsters. This week, we turn our attention to the NECBL, the New England Collegiate Baseball League. The league is home to the Upper Valley Nighthawks, who play their home games at Maxfield Sports Complex in White River Junction. And joining us now is ball club owner Noah Crane and manager Chase Allen. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us.
Great to be here.
Thanks for having us.
So let me just start with the basics here, and I'll bring this question first to you, Noah Crane. For folks who don't know about the NECBL, what is this league all about? What kind of players are featured in it?
Yeah, the NECBL has been around since 1993, and we've got teams in all the New England states, and we are generally regarded as the second best summer league in the entire country, right behind the Cape Cod League. So we are attracting some of the best college baseball players across the country to come up here to New England and join us for a summer.
I'm so glad you mentioned the Cape Cod League because I've been to some of those games and I have been to some NECBL games, and they did remind me of each other. And you're getting some great college athletes who are really trying to hone their games during the season. How long have the Nighthawks been in the league now? Since it began, or we're a little bit later?
No, we were an expansion team in 2016, so we are entering our 10th summer.
How's it going so far? I mean, are you getting fans coming out to the games in White River Junction?
We have. It's really been great from day one. I've been incredibly pleased with the community support that we've had. Not surprised by it, given this area and the philanthropic nature of this place. But our fans have been great. Business community is strong, and they've really appreciated what we've brought to the community over this last decade.
Chase Allen, let me ask you about the makeup of this year's team. I'm sure it changes year to year. What are you looking forward to with the team this season, and how would you maybe describe it to folks? What's the identity of this team?
We got a lot of good firepower on the staff, the pitching staff. Noah does a great job putting together the roster as a whole. I kind of help with that through connections, but he does the grunt work, the leg work there. And then we got a lot of talent on the hitting side. So really excited to see what these guys can kind of do tonight. Excited for BP, excited to see some of the bullpens when we get together tonight.
When you manage a team in this league, are you managing it the same way that a pro manager might manage a team? Is it always about getting the win that day, or are you looking to maybe let a pitcher last a little bit longer in an inning when he's struggling because that will eventually help him in the long run? I mean, how do you approach the game philosophically as a manager?
Yeah, I think you tap into both. Summer ball is largely driven on growth, especially for us here with the Upper Valley Nighthawks. So not only letting a guy go longer potentially in the game, but also getting him back out there on the mound or getting him back out there the next day in terms of getting him back on his feet, whether that be hitting or pitching. So there's a big growth mindset behind the summer for us.
Noah Crane, let me ask you about the league here because you are a Upper Valley team. You're a Vermont team. There's another Vermont team, the Mountaineers, and we've spoken with folks from there before. Have you developed a rivalry with them? I hope that you have, because I think that can only be good for the league.
We have. It's actually called the Governor's Cup, and we've got this old milk jug that we have kind of spray painted silver. And it's been quite a fun little rivalry between us and the Mountaineers for bragging rights of the Green Mountain State. And we play that every year, and whoever wins the most out of our 6 matchups gets to keep the trophy for the year.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So 6 games played, just sort of sprinkled throughout the year. And at the end, what if it ends up 3-3 though? Then who wins the cup?
You've got to win outright. So the team that had it from the prior year has to be beaten. So if it's 3-3, then they retain the cup.
Okay, who's got the cup right now?
I don't want to answer that question.
Okay, you just gave the answer. Chase Allen, let me ask you about some players that folks may want to watch for this year. Who are some maybe studs on the team that folks are going to say, you got to watch this guy taking that bat?
The name that comes to mind is Alex Kelsey. He'll be roaming in the outfield. Had a good year for St. Joe's, so excited to see him on the hitting side. Mateo Wells is a big arm, so excited to get him going and kind of see what he can do. So that's one on the pitching side and one on the hitting side.
That's fantastic. This is such an exciting time of year. I mean, to me, summer begins when baseball starts to get played. So this is a great opportunity for folks to come out, see the games. Noah Crane, what should folks know about like how to get tickets, what the seating capacity is, and, maybe some special events that you do with the games for families, things like that?
Yeah, what's unique about us is since the return of baseball after COVID, we have done free admission here at the Maxfield Sports Complex. We're the only team in the NECBL that does that. We've got a local philanthropic foundation and our local bank, Mascoma Bank, who sponsor free admission. So anybody can come to our games, the 22 home games that we'll have over the course of the season, and not pay a dime to get in. And we really feel that it's a unique thing that we can offer to our community and make sure there are no barriers for people to come and watch us play.
I mean, that's absolutely outstanding. You cannot beat the price there. So you don't feel bad about buying a hot dog when you're at that game you just got in for free. What has it been like being in Vermont? Part of the struggle here is that, you're in this place, even in summertime, where the weather can be such a factor, and it's a short season. You've got a short window here. A lot of double headers get played. Is that something you just get used to?
It's hard to manage. We are very much weather dependent. The joke around here is one of these days we'll build a dome and then we won't have to deal with it. But everybody knows that it's going to rain in the summer and we make do. Sometimes we're playing a lot of games in a row and sometimes we're playing double headers to make it up. But we do want to get the games in. They help us on the revenue side, and it's at-bats and innings for our players. And so when they get canceled, they always get rescheduled. But depending on summer to summer, if it's dry, then we're in good shape. And if it's rainy, it becomes a little congested.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Chase Allen, when you get fans coming out to the ballpark, here, they're coming in to watch these games. What's it like for you as a manager when the team wins and the community is showing that support? I mean, do you find that it's scratching that baseball itch in some ways?
Yeah, so this is my first year as the manager for the Upper Valley Nighthawks. So in terms of how it is here in the Upper Valley, I'm still yet to see. I've heard great things from Noah, my host family, people I've talked to. I played in the league previously, so I know what the league is about, and I know how much the teams and the games mean to the people in these communities. So I'm very excited to be at the head and get to see it from the head coach perspective. I know myself and my staff are really excited for not only the first game, but for our first home game on the 7th.
And I'm glad you mentioned about the host families too. It's such a great way to link in the community, and a big part of it is really necessary. What was your experience like as a player, living with a family and then coming out to the games? Was it a good experience?
Yeah, they loved to be able to host a player. It's awesome to be able to keep up with them when you're finished and you're playing at your school. So, I mean, I know that people have different relationships as they move on, but to hear some of the stories down the road through coaches that I've met along the way or through different players to say, I still keep in touch with my host family, or I still go and visit them, or they still come out and watch me play when I play in a Division I game or whatnot in their area. The connections are just awesome. So not only is it good for the players in terms of them getting to see how other people live and being taken into someone else's home, but I know the host families love having someone, and they really enjoy that.
Well, Noah Crane, this is an exciting time of year, and we wish the Upper Valley Nighthawks the very best of luck this season. Can you let folks know, the process for, you said the tickets are obviously free, which is great, but where can they find out more information about how to attend these games? Is there a one-stop resource they should go to?
Yeah, our website and then our social media channels are all uvnighthawks.com. They can find all of the information on our games and our schedule and our roster, all on those places.
All right. We've been speaking with Noah Crane, the owner of the Upper Valley Nighthawks, and their manager, Chase Allen, having his first year as manager of the Nighthawks. Gentlemen, thank you both so much for being with us on the Sports Report. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you for tuning into the Sports Report today. If you missed any of today's show, you can find it on our YouTube channel. You can also catch the show on Vermont Public Radio Monday nights at 8. It's also available wherever you get your podcasts. Find out more about the show and how to get in touch with us at vermontpublic.org/sports. The Sports Report is a production of Vermont Public, produced by Nathaniel Wilson. The technical director is Mike Dunn, with Kyle Ambusk on graphics, Joey Palumbo on cameras, and video production assistance from Dave Rice, Brian Stevenson, and our audio engineer is Peter Engish. I'm Mitch Wertlieb, your host for this program that's all about the world of sports in Vermont and beyond. Thanks for watching and listening. See you next week on the Sports Report.